Hello, everyone, and welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, the art of allowing, spiritual magic, the mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this mystical, miraculous, mysterious, crazy, sometimes confounding, but always incredible journey we call life. My name is Collin. I'm located in beautiful, sunny North Hollywood, California.
My name is Stephanie Orlina. I am a transformational life coach and I help people shift away from negative thinking. And I'm in San Diego, California.
We want to thank you so much for listening or watching or both, however you're joining us today. And we, as always, want to let you know that we often mention Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks on this podcast. If you're not familiar with those names, Esther is a speaker and author who channels Abraham. Abraham is described as a group of entities from beyond our physical world who share their wisdom by speaking through Esther at workshops and speaking opportunities around the world. You can find out more about them by searching for Abraham Hicks or Esther Hicks on YouTube if you're watching us there, or on your web browser, or you can also go to their website, abraham-hicks.com. Each week we start our discussion from a different jumping off point, and this week, which one are we doing? We had two possibles.
Um, well, I guess you mentioned a different one, and I think we're going with that one.
We're going with the dating one?
Yeah.
All right. We're, 3 weeks into the new year now, 2024, and lots of people out there are single and hoping to find a healthy, happy relationship to be in with a healthy, happy person in 2024. And two of those people are you and me.
That was a great intro. I like that.
Well, I
Yeah.
was saying in our friend time before that we started recording that um, we've talked a lot about dating and the art of attraction, the law of attraction, the art of allowing in relation to dating,
Art of
because it
attraction.
applies
I
to that
like that.
like it does anything else. And we've talked about the fact that we're single. We've talked about the fact that we've been on dates and had, kind of indicator experiences, and been aware of when we're in vibration, when we're not. But I was just thinking, like, we're still single here at this time, and what? You have
Not in the
a face.
vortex. Look, in the vortex, we're both
Oh, right.
happily involved in our, significant with our significant others, and we're
Right.
very happy.
Yes.
And of course it's life. So there's, ups and downs, whatever. But
Yes.
but we are with our who are our friend and our lover. So
Right. And I said we should talk about what we're actually doing. We should share with people what we're actually doing from a law of attraction, art of allowing perspective, in order to welcome in our next right partner as soon as possible. And you were like, well, we can't. There's nothing to talk about. We're not doing anything. And I'm like, but that's not true. Because what you meant by that, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, what you meant by that is, you've gotten off the dating sites. You're not like you're not taking any actions of your own will or from your own ego to go find your next partner. You are taking care of well, tell me what you're doing. That's what this episode's about. Tell me what you're doing.
And I just want you to know that we'll do as we usually do and veer off into other topics and
No,
subjects. But
no.
I'm like, oh, we can't talk for 30 minutes about our dating because we're not doing anything. I'm like, that'll take like 2 or 3 minutes, and I don't want to get into a bunch of resistance. Anyways, so what am I doing? So you may have heard on one of the episodes previously. I'm sorry. So earlier I was like, we started laughing, something happened.
Yes.
And we just got onto this laughing kick. And so that's why we start the podcast. Sometimes we're in the middle of laughing. So I mentioned it's been a month. Because I looked because a few days ago I'm like, I think I want to get back on the dating app. And I was with a friend last night. We went to comedy, and I'm like, she was, so how's dating? And I go, I'm not dating anyone. And I go, actually got off the dating apps. And then I'm like, it feels like a couple months. I don't know how long it's been. And I look, it was November 26th that I got off. And remember, y'all, we record this 2 weeks ahead. So
Mhm.
today is New Year's Eve for us.
Right.
And you'll be listening in January. But um so that's it. I think I've shared with you all before, but I give myself a coaching session every week. And because it was a couple of days before New Year's Eve, and I'm, having all these feelings and thoughts coming up, and so I gave myself a coaching session. I did tapping, EFT, emotional freedom technique. was really interesting what came up. And one of the things came up is I obviously know this is, I love what you said, the art of attraction. I'm blocking
Mm.
my someone to date, someone that I really like, and vice versa.
Well, you're
And I'm like,
delaying. You're delaying.
there's resistance. And so,
Yeah.
yes, I'm delaying it. And I'm like, well, where am I delaying it? And the first thing that comes up is fear of intimacy. But then
Mm.
I started, talking about that in my coaching session with myself. And it was like, yeah, but that's natural. It's not huge,
Mhm.
it's natural. And you'll work through it as it comes up, as you're dating. I go, when it's someone that you really like and are attracted to, and yet feel that sense of ease like we do with our friends, I
Mhm.
go, you'll be able to show yourself and be intimate. And and then I was like, something that I do is when I see someone that I find attractive, I'll go, oh yeah, I like his eyes or his body or hair, and I'll go, but, and then I'll fill in the blank. I'm like, Steph,
Mm.
that's resistance. I was like, okay, can't you just say, um, oh, he's cute, period. But
Mm.
then when I was like, so the next time I saw someone attractive, I thought, oh, he's cute. Thank you. It was like that.
Yeah.
Like no, but no, like, oh, but I don't like this type of thing. It was like, oh, he's cute. Thank you. Like he,
I think that's huge because I think I relate to that, and I'm guessing a lot of people relate to that because it's one of those things where I don't think we necessarily catch what's going on in our mind in these little, what seem like short, brief little moments. But I think that's a very common thing where you have this moment of like, oh, I'm, attracted, or slightly, you're in a conversation at a party or something, and you're like, oh, I'm kind of interested in this person, and then your brain has a monologue, and it might feel like it goes by quick, but it's actually like if you slow it down and you actually like would type it out on a page, it's like a
ah!
paragraph. It's like a paragraph of stuff
Yeah.
of like, and your brain will find just a list of reasons, and it could be reasons that they're awesome, which you don't know yet because you just met them, but your brain is assuming they're awesome and then making a list of reasons why you're not good enough for them or you don't deserve them. Or it and it can do multiple of these things, but it could also be like, oh, but this person seems like they have this trait of one or more of my former partners who it didn't work out with, and so they're probably just like them, and I'm not going to date anybody like that anymore, so I can't date them. Or I mean, it's a myriad of things like, oh, well, they're probably married, or they're probably not my same orientation, or whatever.
Yeah.
And to me, that just feels like that same phenomenon that we've talked about before, which is the brain hates new things and new experiences and things
Because it's
just on
not
its face.
familiar, the unknown.
It
It's
and it just registers as
uncomfortable with the
unsafe.
unknown. Yeah, I'm the
Anything
same.
that's unknown is unsafe.
Yeah.
And so the brain actually has a routine that it goes through to talk you out of new things.
For it's a protection
Yeah,
mechanism.
which is one of the reasons why it's so challenging for so many of us to like start a new diet or start a new exercise routine or look for a new job or anything like that, because our brains just register as like, oh, new, strange, too much unknown, and then it'll do this little monologue where it talks you out of
Danger, danger, alert,
the action
alert.
that occurs
Turn
to
and
you.
run.
Yeah. So I love how you put that of just like, because it just feels so. I mean, law of attraction and everything aside, it just feels honest. It's like I'm attracted or interested in this person. Full
You
stop.
know what?
We don't need to say anything else.
I was amazed because I thought when it first came up, I was driving, I was giving my son while I was driving, and it was like, oh, I was like, okay, if I see someone cute, oh, he's cute, period. And I'm
Yep.
like, am I going to remember to do that? And then multiple times I went to a coffee shop to, close out the year and bring in the new by goals and stuff, business goals. And one of the gentlemen that was working at the counter at the coffee place was attractive, and he reminded me of a certain actor. And so I remember thinking, oh, he's cute. Thank you. Even just saying that, it feels an allowance. It does,
Mm-hmm.
there's no resistance, there's appreciation. I
Mm-hmm.
find him attractive, which is a good feeling. Thank you. It's like, thank you for that. And I feel like that's a very attractive energy to be in.
Yeah.
And I did it multiple times yesterday and I was in awe, like, oh, okay. So so in saying all of that, that is, I think energy, what I'm doing is I'm energetically doing things. I'm not
Yeah.
like physically at this moment. Because then being at the comedy store last night, the comedy show, I was looking around, my eyes are like, and a lot of people were coupled. And I was like, oh, there wasn't any single men there that I knew of. Um, and I'm like, I think it may be something that I need to, my friend, one of my girlfriends is taking dance tango lessons, and she was and I remember when I took dance lessons a few years ago, it was nice to be in that male energy.
Hmm.
And I thought, oh, that's something I could do as well, is to take up dance lessons again. Because I have a really good track record of just meeting people at the grocery store or wherever, organically. Yet I think as far as what are we doing, I think that might be something I may do in the new year is find something that I love doing and then
Well, and the thing that gets me about it is because I know this from how I've attracted, partners in the past that it did work well with for a while, which is that in terms of how I actually allowed them in and how they allowed me in, is it's all about the energy. It actually has nothing to do with what you're doing unless what you're doing is affecting your energy.
right.
So
And
I
that's
mean,
why I got off the dating apps because it
yeah,
was conjuring so much negative emotion
yeah.
and negative experiences that I'm like, Steph, this is not working for me.
Yeah.
For some people, they have no resistance at all.
Well, that's the thing. You
And
can you can pull 10 random people who use dating sites or have used dating sites aside and ask them, do they work for you? And you'll get 10 different answers. And it's not to do with just randomness. It's to do with a dating app is only a method, and it doesn't have anything to do with whether you're going to find somebody or not. If you go on a dating app and your energy is, I'm not good enough, there's nobody out there for me, blah blah blah,
right,
you will
yeah.
be on that dating app forever. You will go on a million horrible
Yeah.
dates that don't work out, and you'll just be like, why not? There's so many people on this app, why don't they work for me? Whereas somebody who's like in the zone, like they're feeling good about themselves, they're not attached to an outcome, they're just loving their life and just like open, they can literally go on Meet
I
for the
know.
first person and get a partner that way.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's one of the things. Since I was a little kid, people have been telling me, if you really want to get a girlfriend, the best way to do it is to not worry about getting a girlfriend. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
just that.
That's
I remember when I was really young, that used to drive me crazy. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, I want this thing and I should just like not want it. Like that seems, kind of
yeah,
contradictory.
yeah.
But it's not that you shouldn't want it. It's that
Stop thinking
it's just a
about not
dance of
having
like
it.
wanting it and not getting into any resistance,
Yeah.
which is really tricky because there's a lot of stuff in our culture about um, just messages that like, you can only get somebody good if you're in a certain kind of physical shape. You can only get somebody good if you have a certain income. You can only get somebody good if you're got
So
the right timing, and timing is hard. So probably,
so what era was the era where the women were much more voluptuous? Do you remember what is that era? Because I can see a woman
are you
posing.
talking about for me in my life?
No. Do you remember? I can picture a
Uh,
woman
Off
like
the top of my
posing.
head, no, it was. I can't remember if it was like the Renaissance. You're making me feel stupid.
And you're nothing near that. And I can hear our listeners going and blurting it out. Thank
Thank
you
God
for
for
that.
Google.
I wish we could hear you.
It was the Renaissance. Ah,
All right, yay! We need
yes,
a
in the
little
Renaissance
clapping button.
period in Europe, fuller figured women were deemed both powerful and beautiful. If you look at
Woo!
most Renaissance art that's portraits of women, you can see that they typically have fuller figured bodies.
Okay, so I am a fuller figured female, and that is not what is depicted as gorgeous and beautiful in our era of human civilization today.
I'm just
And
thinking that the hashtags we can use on YouTube now, we're gonna get a lot of views.
we'll talk about that after this episode so I can write
It's
them
gonna be
down.
the wrong kind of viewer, but we're gonna get
Oh,
views.
and so, because I have that, being a female that grew up in California and US, I have body image issues.
It is like I think most
And
women in America have body image issues, but San Diego and Los
despite
Angeles are ridiculous.
despite their
It's like,
size, right? Because I even have
yeah,
friends who are an
oh,
average
everybody does.
body. Yeah, average
But
body
in
size. So,
LA and San Diego, it's like there's something in the culture here that's
oh
like
yeah, absolutely. Anyways, so I was brushing my teeth and I got this download from my inner being of like the Renaissance female. They were, voluptuous and beautiful and powerful and, very much, attractive. And so I'm like, yeah, that's who I am. And there are men out there who actually find that very attractive. And I also appreciate a man who has no body image issues at all in the sense of they just love women and it doesn't matter. They've probably had girlfriends of all different shapes and sizes. So that was another little resistant piece that I got to work through in the last week. That spirit gave me that download of like, oh yeah, and vice versa. Like I'm not really into tall, thin men. I
well,
like
the other
taller
thing
men,
too
but
is like
thicker men, and so it works that way
something
for men too.
something one of my friends has said for years to me, and I remember it sometimes. I don't remember it as often as I would like to, which is that, any of these things that we talk about generally on the podcast, the things that most people like think about when we talk about law of attraction, art of alignment, which is, I need a new home or new place to live. I need a new job, or I want a new partner, or I need, a lot of money. The job, the home, and the partner, like typically you're
And
only trying
health.
and health, but especially the home, the partner, and the job, typically you only need to find one. You don't need to find 700 of them. You need to find one, right? And this is the thing. It's like if you get down to that level, it becomes much simpler and easier. Like, of course, there's one person out there who's gonna like what I look like, but a lot of people get into, and again, not to meditate on the Southern California obsession with thinness and fitness and all that sort of stuff, but um, you know, uh, that sort of mentality is like, oh, I need, in order to get one woman to like me or one man to like me, I have to be fit and thin and,
Whatever, be rich,
amazingly looking
whatever.
enough
Yeah,
to
yeah,
attract hundreds because I need, it doesn't, which doesn't make any sense,
yeah,
so
yeah.
and the other thing about that too is, I mean, I think everybody has an individual perspective on this, but then there's also like some general things we can say about women and men and the differences and what we look for and everything. But I do feel like one thing that is true for me, regardless of gender orientation or anything, is like if somebody's super confident in themselves and they're at ease and they're like really easy to talk to and they're funny and you just love being in their energy.
Mhm.
I mean, honestly, I think that's hot to just about everybody. Like, it's just one of those things of
It's
like,
attractive. Yeah.
yeah, like I have had that experience in my life of just like someone who like, because I don't know. Most people, I guess, don't think they have a type, but then they do, and I complete guilty to that, perhaps. But definitely, I've bumped into. I mean, I've met people, and you'd say, well, typically, would you be attracted to this sort of person who looked like this? And I'd say, well, typically, maybe not, but they've just been awesome to be around, and it's like, oh yeah, like I don't care about any of that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it's sort of like their inner beauty shines through so much that their outer beauty becomes attractive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I
so
forgot where I was
when we
going
say
with that.
what I wanted to talk about is what are we doing
So that's
specifically?
what I'm doing is I'm shifting my energy. And I'm doing my best to do the energy aspect of it. And one of these things that I picked up a long time ago, I think it was on social media, is throughout the year to write down on a little piece of paper. You could keep it in a journal or whatever. I think they said little pieces of paper, moments,
Mm,
highlights of like, in November, I got to see my grandkids 3 different times, like Thanksgiving, but then 2 weeks prior to that, and then 2 weeks prior to that. We went to Palomar Mountain and drove around. It was beautiful. And then what else did they came down here and I took them to Louisiana Charlie's and we had lunch and then we drove around Coronado. And so I wrote those on little pieces of paper. And throughout the year, you write down these moments that you enjoyed. And then at the end of the year, you take them all out and you read them.
Mm.
And so you get like a glimpse. And so I did that yesterday. And I came across this writing from January 28th. And so that was like a month after I had moved out of my home. And I had this spiritual experience where I had gone there to celebrate, having gone through the divorce and having an amicable divorce and how I showed up and, how amazing that was. And I went for a long weekend. So I did the spa and had a nice room and treated myself to a really delicious steak dinner. And I was leaving and the bellman, I asked someone to come up and the bellman came up and his name was Ben. I didn't see that at first. And Ben is the name that I've given my man. And he's a Filipino man, which my ex-husband was Filipino. And I'm like, oh, I'm not heading home right away. I have this steak left over. Is there some way that I can keep it cold? And he goes, well, let's go downstairs and we'll find out. And so he wraps it up in this bag and then he grabs my sweater and he wraps it up in this. He goes, it'll stay cool for hours. And I'm like, okay. And then as we're heading out to my car, he says, why were you here? And I said, oh, I was celebrating that just went through a divorce and was amicable. And he's like, Stephanie, he goes, next time I see you here, he goes, I want you to be looking forward. He goes, in a car, there's a big windshield. And that's what you want. You want to be looking forward. He goes, they just give you a little mirror, the rear view mirror, and that you can glance at it, but he goes, that's not where you're going. Where you're going. And I go, oh my gosh, Ben, I go, I'm a life coach. I'm going to use that with my clients. Thank you so much. And then he opens up the car door for me and I get in and he says to me, I love you. And I sit in my car and I'm like, bye. And I drive away and I'm like, what the hell just happened? Like, my ex-husband's Filipino, this man's Filipino, older gentleman. His name's Ben. And it's funny because Lou's middle name was Ben. And that's not why I named my guy Ben. I just liked the name. It was short and easy. And here's this man. I felt like it was Lou's spirit telling me to not look back.
Mm.
It's not where you're going. And I felt like it was my guy's energy saying, look forward. That's where I am. Like we're going to be together. And so I came across this yesterday and I was like, oh, I need to hang on to this. And then I came across another piece of paper that said, when I met David, and just like energetically, like how much I felt like he's the essence of my guy. And I'd written down something and I said, Steph, you're gonna attract someone who is the energy of your Ben and David, and you'll start dating them.
Mm.
And that was so cool to, come across both those papers because energetically that uplifted me and gave me hope of
Mm.
like, yeah, of course it's going to happen. Like,
I love that. I think that's super powerful for me because I think it hits on one of my biggest things that's delaying things, that's resistance for me, which is my brain prefers to look backward instead of forward. Like forward and people I haven't met yet, like total strangers I haven't met yet, are just to my brain in the moment seem scary, frightening, dangerous. Like and just looking back, again feels more comfortable. But I can definitely, like, in looking at how I look back, it's like, oh, but that's just going back over like either relationships that didn't work out or people that I was hoping something would work out with and it didn't, or what. I'm like, I've been catching myself doing that a lot lately. It's like when I think about dating, I think about somebody that I kind of was interested in, and it looked like we might connect, and then we didn't, and like my brain like sort of spins on that of like, why didn't it work out, or should I
And
call them
so
again, which
that
is
is
usually like,
resistance, right? That's
yeah.
resistance.
And I think, again, it's just a trick of the brain to like just,
And
instead of looking at forward at strangers who you don't know yet, which is scary, let's look back at this thing that didn't work out and brings up negative feelings, but it's like, it's comfortable,
right. And I
it's
also
really
want to
messed up.
say that when you're doing that, you're also shooting out rockets of what you do want because you're remembering things that you don't want. And in that moment,
Yeah.
even though you're not conscious of it, they are energetically going out. And so
Yeah.
you're just putting even better relationships
Yeah.
in your vortex. And so I'm saying, all like what I'm saying is with my resistance is, oh, I need to look at where am I blocking? Where
Hmm.
am I slowing down this thing that is inevitable? Like Sarah, she's so sweet. Sarah, we got your comments, Sarah. We're definitely gonna talk about those. She responded to our shout out of what do you guys want to hear us talk about? What do you want support with? And we will be doing some episodes on that. So thank you, Sarah, for responding to our call. Um, and so that's what, I need to do is, oh, so Sarah said, you're both going to find someone, you're both going to be with someone, you're both going to meet someone. This was,
Right.
months ago when we were
Which is
talking
correct.
about this. She goes, you're both great. You're going to find someone really wonderful too. Um, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm doing the energy work so that I can attract people who are more in alignment of what I want, um, and have fun.
Yeah, good for you. That's awesome. I struggle with this a little bit. Like, what am I doing? I feel like at the last few weeks, I have been doing resistance. I feel like that's not by choice. Like, I haven't been actively sitting down and being like, "Oh, let me get into resistance about around dating for a while." But like, I think I'm on autopilot a little bit, and I just find myself in my alone time, like thinking about it, and I mainly have negative thoughts or flashbacks to the past.
How's that feel, Collin?
Obsessing about that. What's that?
How's that feel, Collin?
Bad. Yeah, it feels bad. So yeah, I'm trying to formulate like what I could be doing again, which is more
Do
than
you like
focusing
the
on the
tapping?
what's that?
Do you like tapping?
I
Has that worked for
don't. I
you? You
don't.
don't?
It
Okay.
really doesn't work for me very well. I don't know why.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Most of my clients resist it at first,
yeah,
and then I keep bringing it up, appropriately in sessions, and
yeah.
eventually they try it, and they,
Hmm.
for some, I'd say like 50% of them have great progress with it
So
and stick with
what
it.
would a sample tapping around this be?
So so you come up with an opening statement. So what is the gist of what you're feeling?
Hmm. I think it's just that it's too hard to meet someone compatible.
Okay, so where are we at with time?
We're almost out.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, like, feel like I did that thing where I opened the door to a new episode at the end of the episode.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't we close and
Okay.
then our next episode we'll do a tapping session. Um,
Okay.
and you want it?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, something for everyone to look forward to next week. Well, thank you so much for listening and watching today. We really appreciate you joining us. Remember, at this time, January of 2024, we're posting a brand new episode for you every single Monday morning. We truly appreciate you doing whatever your platform allows you to do to support us. We also have a Patreon link now, so if you'd like to support us for just a few small dollars a month, you can go to our links in the doobly doo down in the YouTube version below and sign up on Patreon. We would really appreciate that and be super grateful to you. We wish you a happy and abundant week of good flowing energy, and we look forward to you joining us again on the next episode of Co-Creation Station. Bye, everybody.
Bye.